局の指示によりまして、お客様の機内持ち込み手荷物はお一人様1個、重さは 10kg 以内と制限させていただきます。
Oof. I don't know, actually. I think home is New York right now. It's just like wherever I live, and like right now I live in New York. I feel more home here than I do anywhere else. I'll say that much.
I feel at home when I'm with family, definitely. You know, it's all about the people who, I guess, share the same values as you, and then you could be anywhere in the world and you'll still feel at home.
Home is where my parents are. Home is where I can like play Lego Star Wars with my brother. I've never really felt attached to like physical place that much, so.
I think because I grew up by the beach, I'd say anywhere where there's blue water and the sun. That's home right now.
Normally when I tell people where I'm from, I used to say Shanghai, but it just got complicated because that would open up questions of like, why is your English so good? So I started to say I was just from Seattle. My experience growing up creates a lot of confusion, both internally and externally. You start to create like a simpler narrative for people that want to ask me questions that to them are really intuitive and like easy to answer.
I think it's more of just struggling to fight or explain that you don't fit into the stereotype or the expectation of whatever individual comes from whatever country.
When I was in the US for college and then back when I went to Shanghai for work, I started to say home was wherever people thought I was from because it would just save time.
It just comes off as so arrogant. It's like, oh, where are you from? Oh, it's complicated. People like definitely interpret that as I'm better than you.
They have an entire like foundation, like physical net of support set up, and that's never something I'm gonna have access to, just because I was never raised with that consistency, I guess.
My least favorite thing about being a TCK is doing long distance my whole life, whether that's with significant others, whether that's with family or friends. I mean, the majority of my close friends are not in the same place as me. They're spread out everywhere.
I'd say I definitely struggle with identity a lot, just because I do feel a little bit of an outsider.
Like, I'm a woman, I'm queer, I'm this, I'm that, and I'd be like, yeah, this is who I am. These labels were just my like feeble attempts of trying to put myself in categories so that I could like find community and like feel at home.
The world is pretty binary when it comes to culture and race, and when you're more than that, like when you're biracial and TCK and immigrant, and the more layers there are, the more crazy you get. So every time I'm thrown into a new batch, I feel my identity in the front of my face.
I've become better at cross-cultural communication. I also think I'm better at creating relationships, and the bad side with that is I think I've also become a lot more comfortable and okay with saying goodbye.
Some things that I value that I've gained from the experience are just a view of humanity as like all together versus divided up into a bunch of countries. I mean, I'm a big fan of that worldview, and I think we would all be better off if we had that worldview too.
It's easier for us to kind of critique systems of power, like institutions in place, but you need an outside opinion sometimes.
Overall, I felt like our concerns are pretty universal. We all have sort of the same grievances, and things that other people find are petty for us to talk about, we know are really big deals for us.
I think that's something that we have to remind ourselves of, is that we're a very small, privileged portion of the population. And so I think you forget that not everyone has the means to just, hop around the globe like we do.
But yes, I don't know if struggle is the word, it's just sort of there all the time, that sort of conversation with yourself. I'm from Shanghai, but I was born in Seattle.
I'd say Hong Kong, just because I was born and raised there.
And I moved to Japan when I was 10, and then
moved to the UK for 2 years when I was pretty young.
I was born in India, and then I spent 2 months there.
Italy when I was 15, and then New York when I was 19.
Then moved back to Pittsburgh for a while.
My parents were already living in the Caribbean.
I don't know, man. That's where I don't know. I think that's where I'm from.
I started to feel bad that we created such a confusing situation. But our kids have a strong footing in Japan, a strong footing in the US, which in a way can be confusing too.
When you're in one country, you always miss the other one. And if you're in this one, you always miss the other one.
It's a difficult identity to navigate the world in, but we should be proud that we're able to call anywhere and everywhere home.
11 o'clock. For your safety and the safety of those around you, we are going to ask you please do remain seated with your seatbelts fastened and your bags stowed just for a few more minutes while we text to the gate.